All praise and honor and glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Racha Kodash. We are eternally indebted into for this epic truth and the understanding of these prophecies. Alright? What is coming upon this fucking planet? Namely what we're about to go into. One of the main events that's going to go down before the end. Double honor to the apostles and elders at great both showing that rule well. And shalom to the hopeful elect. Indeed, there will be in mandatory mass microchipping, okay, known as the mark of the beast, okay. There will be an event that goes out globally that's going to be carried out throughout the planet where the masses of the people, all the inhabitants of the earth, are going to be required to taking this device, okay, taking the mark of the beast, and under the skin, a device that's going to be implanted in your fucking body, okay. And one of the aspects of it that we're going to explore briefly is the security aspect of it, okay. It's going to be under the guise of many things, the purposes and how they're going to roll out, how required it is for society. We know the so-called for health, right? For the wellness, health aspect of it, for the safety, health safety of society, right? We know the monetary aspect of it, okay, and that's also for security as well. All these different financial type crimes, right? For the security of that, for the security of your fucking money. But one of the aspects of it specifically is for the security and safety of society as it pertains to crime. Okay, not necessarily specifically guaranteed for financial crime and that whole health safety of the public health safety, but also for all type of crime. For example, you have people who perform different criminal acts, and what this is being posed as is a clampdown for that, and people are willingly going to hand over their so-called rights and freedoms for safety, okay, for security. Just as we've seen, I'll give you a recent example, but that has gone down many times and is a proven fact, an actual occurrence of what people have done in history, multiple times in history. One of the latest examples is 9/11. All right, they actually voted for and co-signed on these different measures being put in place for their freedoms to be taken away, for the to employ these different security measures. All right. For example, the Patriot Act. All right, you have these motherfuckers who voted for and were proponents, these actual citizens that okayed it for you. For example, that whole we can apprehend you and detain you for any fucking reason. We don't, the so-called law enforcement doesn't need grounds to detain, right? To apprehend, detain a person, you know, so that they can be questioned and shit as a fucking terrorist. You see? So we've seen that in history. The masses will give up their fucking so-called rights and freedom for for the guys. It's a guise, but what they think is security. Okay, and we see this being posed again. It says bring in digital IDs to get tough on populism. And populism is just basically the population. And I'll preface it a little bit. You have these fucking so-called immigrants that come in not only to America, because I believe this fucker Tony Blair is over there in the UK. You have a lot of so-called Edomite European countries, and we know the origins of all that. Those places were stolen lands that Edomites fucking took over. But you know, it was originally Japhet, which is one of the sons of Noah. His fucking progeny was occupying those lands, but then it was occupied by Jake, is where they were stolen from as well, okay, by the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, primarily of the southern kingdom after 70 AD, when we see the expulsion of the so-called Jews, or Salakia, the Jews, that derogatory term, the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which make up the southern kingdom of the nation of Israel when they were expelled out of the land. What they call it, they say the so-called Roman Empire. The Roman Empire put an end to the so-called Jewish state, right? In 70 AD, not only did millions of them flee into Africa, the west coast of Africa, but you had many that fled into different parts of Europe, and then eventually you see the Roman Empire being taken down, okay, by Jakes, which is short and a code word for Jacob, for Israelites of the southern kingdom. All right, and that's where they established those different. It made up a whole empire came about from that, right? What they call the so-called Byzantine Empire. All right, but those places were fucking taken over by fucking Edomites, so-called white man. And what do you have going on right now? Fucking immigrants from Africa and motherfucking the so-called Middle East that are running up into those countries, raping the shit out of those white bitches over there, okay, and terrorizing those Edomites, okay. So those fucking crackers, those so-called fucking Caucasians, all right, which good for that, you know, and it's gonna get way fucking worse. The whole world, all the other nations are gonna come down upon this fucking red man, okay, upon the devil that the Bible speaks of, okay, Esau, Edom. But look, all throughout these different Edomite territories, they're pushing, and this is a global thing that's gonna go down. They're pushing for these fucking digital IDs to crack down on crime. All right, and one of the things that is posed is through these digital IDs, what they do is it will have your fucking DNA in the database. You know, you have that shit called the CODIS, which is a national database. I believe it's national. It might be international database of DNA of different criminals. Okay, they take a criminal's DNA and they have it in there so that if that person's DNA is found, they can tie it to the actual person. Okay, because if you have someone's DNA, you can get it, you can find them through familial DNA and shit like that, but it's not an exact pinpoint unless you really have a sample of that person's DNA to compare it to. All right, and this is what brothers have been going into about how it's not just gonna be, you know, you can't use somebody else's chip, like in fucking, what was that, Minority Report. Okay, the implants of different dead, the microchip implants of different dead people, or even people alive, that could be extracted and then put in another person. And you could, I think it was Tom Cruise, he put in a fucking Japanese sodomite's fucking microchip, and he was able to pose like he was him and evade the authorities from catching him, he was absconding from justice, because he apparently, you know, killed someone. The pre-crime determined that he killed someone, so he was, you know, he was pretty much, he was considered a criminal, you know, guilty and shit. But it's not gonna be on some shit like you saw in that example, in that depiction. They're gonna actually have not only all your information, right? More than just your motherfucking driver's license number and that different type of your social security number. They're gonna actually take samples of your fucking DNA when they chip you and put you in the motherfucking database. See, and it's gonna start, you know, kind of on a beta phase with these digital IDs, and then it's gonna graduate to the straight up 100% legit definitive mark of the beast. Okay, what do they call that shit? The beta testing phase and shit. All right. We'll read through a little bit of this, and we're gonna get that grapho aspect of the chip. Okay. The former Labor Prime Minister who backs identity technology systems and facial recognition believes the public will gladly sacrifice privacy for efficiency. You see that? So they'll sacrifice their so-called rights and freedoms for this cause. Okay? No fucking problem. Because I'll also come with another example when you've had these criminals in history who have absconded from justice after, and this was mostly in the times preceding the 90s, I believe, is when that technology really took off, in the late 90s, of DNA. What do they call that? It's something specific, the verbiage for it, the so-called, in the criminal justice system, DNA testing and shit like that. Okay. So, motherfuckers were running rampant. Criminals, you know, serial killers, They were fucking, that was their heyday from like 1990 and proceeding, mainly from about, from the 60s, maybe late 60s to the early 90s, right? They were able to see, and that's one of the main things that's preventing people from committing crime, is they know their a little skin cell can get them nabbed up. You can get DNA off of a skin cell, off of a spittle, which, even when you talk, um you expel spittle. Okay, any little thing fucking from your jizz, right? But that's one of the main things that's holding people back. But still, it still goes down in a heavy level. All different types of crime. All right. It says, so this fucker. But to finish up that thought, that this postulation about that crime, right? You have with this, they're going to be able to crack down on crime even fucking more. Okay, with a digital system. It says Tony Blair, before he became prime minister, and let's see who he's the prime minister of, where he's the prime minister of. Tony Blair, prime minister of the UK. All right. Tony Blair promised to be tough on crime and tough on causes of crime. He's convinced that technology will allow Sir Keir Starmer to be tough on populism and tough on the causes of populism. Okay. But Blair is urging the government to introduce a national digital ID system and roll out live facial recognition cameras to tackle illegal immigration, drive down crime, and deal with benefit fraud. You see this? So that so this is showing you exactly one of the purposes and the agendas behind that's going to be used and set as a guise for the people to not only take it but for the reason why they have to. This has to be mandatory, okay? And it'll get to the point where they won't even need a motherfucking facial recognition camera system, because they're gonna have it's gonna be tracked and traced, an actual internal device that's gonna be in all the people, to where they can see exactly where the motherfucker is, see what they're doing, okay? See where they were, all right? And who knows, it could even be like what we've seen in certain Black Mirror episodes, where they can actually see through the motherfucker's eyes and see what they're doing. Okay, have all that shit recorded. They can easily do that. Somehow tap into your, like, what is it called? Remote surveillance. So they can surveil what you actually fucking see, like a goddamn body cam. Okay, all you have to do is tie it in, put the technology in that chip, in that internal device that is tapped into your retina. Okay. But see, this is all under the guise to crack down on crime. See, so-called immigration crime, okay, and benefits. It's like immigration benefits, right? Blair suggests only by fully harnessing the power of AI that ministers can deliver the improvements to public services that voters want while also achieving the savings the Treasury needs. So we see how it's, you know, how it's going to be spun. And you spin a fucking web. Okay? It says you've got to reorder the government around this technology revolution. See? Meaning pretty much saying restructure it. Restructure how everything is being fucking um, conducted. Okay? To implement these things, this technology into society. You understand? You see the way he fucking um, you know, he weaves. You weave and you spin a motherfucking web, and you could hear it even in this forked speech. You should be able to have a state that is smaller, more strategic, and providing greater efficiency at lower cost. That is the holy grail of governing, which people have always aspired to. Technology is the instrument that allows you to do it. Okay? AI there, you're nicked. Tech is reshaping how we fight crime. Alright? Digital, it says the Prime Minister, let's see, has promised to turn Britain into an AI superpower with plans for digital driving license and passports being discussed in Whitehall. He insists that the Labour government should introduce a universal digital ID system. We are putting in place the building blocks for it. See, says we need to take a firm decision that we're going for digital ID. We are putting in place the building blocks for it. So that's good, but we should embrace it fully and roll it out as soon as we can because it will have an immediate set of benefits. You see that? There you go. And we see this thing is fucking snowballing. It's warp speeding. That this different legislation. See, he just fucking told you that they are they're putting in place the building blocks for this digital system. All right, and all it's gonna take at that point is to start implanting the people. Okay. Let's go. It says so. This thing is right around the fucking corner. People think it's gonna be in fucking 2049 or 2100 and shit. All of these things are right around the fucking corner. And it's gonna be right under your fucking nose too. Okay? Because they don't tell the public fucking shit unless, the spirit is on you to read between the fucking lines. Okay? Which, you see, the Mosai, the Heavenly Father, has put the spirit upon these men, primarily a great Wellstone, to snuff this shit out. Okay? Brothers just happen to, it blows my fucking mind. The way that the spirit is on these different men, from the apostles and elders on down, to locate these things that seem like they're fucking needles needle in haystacks. These different things that expose different pieces of literature, okay, articles and shit that expose the fact that this thing is fucking close, okay, and they're gonna do it like unbeknownst to the people. They're just gonna that they're structuring it, but you know, getting everything in place now, and they're just gonna roll that fucker out. You know. So let's get that grapho aspect of the, because you have the fucking point. Okay. Says he sees digital. He says ID as a tool that empowers the individual. You see this? It's how he said about these benefits. Okay. Digital ID system will allow you to know exactly who's got a right to be here and who hasn't. So it's got a benefit in respect to the immigration debate. And this is also him fucking exalting himself as the Heavenly Father. Okay? This ultimate control that this is. We know these precepts. Okay? Second Thessalonians. Alright? Habakkuk 2. He keepeth all people to himself. Alright? That Ezekiel 28. He's operating as if he's God. Okay? Isaiah 14 goes into this. Exalts himself as the Heavenly Father. You know, motherfucking, I believe Psalm 73. You know, Psalm 50. All right. Let's see. So it's for the reduction of crime. It says if you have a digital ID and people have to prove their identity before they claim benefits, you would do an enormous amount to reduce the 10 billion a year that goes to different types of benefit fraud. It says digital ID could also help reduce crime. Online fraud is a huge thing now, but it's curable thing. So we should cure it. See this? Talking about cyber attacks and all this shit. All countries will move in this direction. If it becomes, if they don't, it becomes much harder to make your system work efficiently. That's why that fuck nigga, who was that Chief Ephraim, talking about, oh, he doesn't see how all the countries are going to get on board with this. Well, that tells you right here, okay? Because it's going to work adversely if they don't all get on board. It's that them not getting on board is going to work against each individual country. The efficiency of that system. Okay? Digital ID is a personal enabler. It allows you to simplify your transactions with the government, and in time it will become the simplest way you deal with your private sector interactions as well. See? It always, it allows you to have one single source of truth, and it prevents people misusing your identity, because your fucking DNA, that's why when you see these different crime shows, they're able to say that without a shadow of a doubt, it's such and such a person, because they say, we have with fucking genetic certainty, we know that it's this person. They say it's like one in something crazy, like so many odd fucking trillion, 1 in 100 trillion chance that it's this motherfucker. They say it's with the genetic certainty, okay? Because your fucking DNA is a code, okay? It's a specific code that each individual person has. See, and it's, once again, it's him exalting himself as the Heavenly Father, because the Heavenly Father created that, okay? So let's hit that in the blue letter real quick. Revelation 13 and 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their in their right hand or in their foreheads. Okay, you get that word mark, of course, and we're gonna go into the root words: charagma, right? Charax, and then you have grapho. It says to write with reference to the form of the letters. All right, let's go down. Said to delineate or form letters on a tablet, parchment paper, or other material. It says to write. And brothers go into it, what is like read, write capability. You know, all technology is fucking code. Okay? You write in that code. And it says here to commit to writing things not to be forgotten, to write down a record. Okay? That it's going to have in there written in each individual chip. That's, of course, that's linked into a system. That digital system that this fucking guy is talking about is going to have your fucking DNA. Not to mention all your fucking records, but one of the main things is going to be your specific code. Okay? And that's one of the ways he's going to take complete control of society. All right? And the people are going to be fucking with it. They're going to be down with it for those purposes of fucking safety, security. All right? And as we see, this thing is fucking right around the fucking corner. You know, could be short few months before this thing, and then we know it's a wrap. You know, we know what's on the other side of this. This is why this is one of the ultimate prophecies. Because when this fucker implements these things, we know that the Heavenly Father is not going to allow him to continue on for long term. Okay, it's going to be for a very short space, according to the scriptures. When he's about to implement his plan, when he's about to fill his fucking belly, okay, the Heavenly Father's going to destroy this motherfucker. Okay. And we know what's on the other side. It says, this is not the end where much glory doth abide. So what's coming is going to be much glory. Is going to abide where the fuck we're going. Okay? So with that, call Volume Li'al Bashim Yahshai Bashim Rechak Kodash. Shalom.